Hi, my name's Bill Slavin. I'm talking today with John about my book, Secrets of Jarrow, Book 1 in the Mordecai Crow trilogy. And you are listening to True North Country Comics Podcast.
Welcome to the True North Country Comics Podcast, dedicated to promote Canadian comic book and graphic novel creators and supporters. I'm John Swinimer. If you want to drop me a line, you can contact me at john@truenorthcountrycomics.com. On this episode, I chat with Bill Slavin about his new graphic novel, Mordecai Crow, The Secrets of Jarrow, from Renegade Arts Entertainment. This podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Please like and subscribe to that video channel. And if you want to help the site and the podcast, please consider supporting the effort by chipping in at ko-fi.com/TrueNorthCountryComics. Your patronage is greatly appreciated. Bill is an award-winning illustrator hailing from Belleville, Ontario. He studied cartooning and graphic story illustration at Sheridan College. His illustration work includes Paulette Bourgeois' book Too Many Chickens, as well as a number of other children's books. With his wife, Esperanza Melo, he was a member of the Millbrook Gallery, a gallery collective of 19 local artists in Millbrook, Ontario. Recently, he returned to his childhood love of comics and graphic novels, writing and illustrating the graphic novel trilogy for kids, Elephants Never Forget, as well as a Mordecai Crow trilogy, Mordecai Crow, Secrets of Jarrow, his first book with Renegade Arts Entertainment. Mordecai Crow must solve a mysterious murder to clear his name in a world ravaged by its past. On a climate-ravaged world, Crow searches for his long-lost family, and he becomes embroiled in a murderous conspiracy when seeking refuge in a fortress city committed to preserving ancient knowledge. What secrets lie at the heart of its ancient walls, and how are they connected to Mordecai's mysterious past? So without further ado, here's my chat with Bill Slavin about his new graphic novel, Mordecai Crow, The Secrets of Jarrow, from Renegade Arts Entertainment. So Bill Slavin, thank you very much for taking time to chat with me.
Oh, my pleasure, John. Thanks for setting this up. I really enjoy it.
Well, I appreciate your time. Before we get started with all the questions, though, I want to ask you, if you remember, what was the first comic book that you read?
Oh, the first comic book I read. I'm not really quite sure what that would be. I was reading at a pretty early age, and any comic books that came by, I was grabbing them. But I'll tell you the first one that really grabbed my attention and probably set me off on the track of loving comics and wanting to make comics. And that was oddly enough, it was an Asterix comic. And it was brought back to me from Europe. My brother and sister-in-law had been living in England for a year, and when they came back, they brought me this Asterix comic called Asterix and Cleopatra. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, for some reason, more than any of the other comics that I've been reading, and I've been reading them all. My friend I never could afford them, but my friend had a huge, couple thousand copies, superhero comics, and we go over there and we read comics and do all the things that kids do. But this comic, I don't know, there was a combination of sort of the history and the humor and the style of the cartooning that it just grabbed me, the way that things grab you when you're a kid, and that's the way I wanted to draw. That's what I wanted to do. And if you actually look at my first copy of Asterix and Cleopatra, because I still have it, totally
great.
Dog-eared, the spines falling off. They were hardback copies, so they actually had a little bit more durability. But it's got a big like I spilled a bottle of ink on it because I was copying the artwork, and I would draw in the middle of my parents' our living room carpet at home. Mm-hmm. And with pen and ink, and this pen and ink, a bottle of ink and a straight pen. Okay, that was my preferred drawing tool from a really early age, and yeah. So there's a bottle of ink just spilled right across the page, but I kind of love that because for me, that's history. That's sure. That just every time I see it, it just reminds me of the love of that. And then I went on and I pretty well collected all the Asterix comics over the years, and I don't have a lot of use for them anymore since Goscinny Neuter's Oregon, but even after Gosney left, they changed. Uderzo, I should know how to pronounce the man's name. Anyways, he was a fantastic cartoonist, but Gosney, he was a funny writer. And anyways, so that'd be the comic that I remember from the
Sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's well noted from other creators I talked to as well, and definitely a good inspiration then. But I'm wondering who or what inspires you to create today?
Who or what inspires me to create today? I wouldn't say that it's any particular comics or any comic book artists that inspire me to create today. I think I've been doing a lot of storytelling for a long time in different ways, always visually, but not necessarily through comic books. And I guess I've always just loved the medium. I drifted away from it, but just got involved with making a living and doing stuff. But what inspires me today is just the world making. I just love sitting down at my drawing table, although I'm not doing that now, but I was until recently, and just world creating and creating these characters and then populating them and creating these worlds, populating with the characters that I have and just being in that space. Like, I think most artists can probably say the same thing, but it's just where I want to be, like, almost all the time. And so, and that's really what inspires me is just drawing. I just having a story to tell that will keep you at your drawing board day after day after day, and just yeah. So
good stuff.
That's where I draw my inspiration.
Okay, yeah. Good. Well, we're here talking about your latest graphic novel, Mordecai Crow, Secrets of Jarrow from Renegade Arts Entertainment. I want to talk a wee bit about that now. And maybe for someone who's not familiar with the story, how would you describe it to someone?
I would describe it. We're describing it in the publicity as sort of a dystopic whodunit. It's set in a not a post climate change future, a future where climate change has affected the world and obviously in a negative way, but within that context, there's this character Mordecai Crow, and he's kind of he's drifting through this ravaged world, and kind of dealing with his own crises. He's in a world that's in crisis, but I just want to stress that the book isn't about that. It's not a book about, this is going to be this is what we're up against. I mean, that's part of it, the whole climate change thing. But really, what I wanted to do was create an interesting environment in which my character will function. So I would say the first book is definitely a whodunit. But beyond that, the arc of the trilogy, I think, is more of a quest story about a young man searching for his identity, his lost parents, and just kind of surviving and getting through in this dystopic future, Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah. No, it's interesting because reading it, I had a preview copy, and it reminded me the setting, at least the architecture and way it was written, was sort of like The Name of the Rose, a movie with Sean Connery.
Sure.
Don't know if you had seen that one, but that sort of
yes,
allusions to that. But then you've got some language in there that threw me a bit, because it's you put in, for old fogies like me, you actually in the background sort of talk about technology that from today's standards is considered old school. and that was interesting. So wanted to ask you, previously you've published children's books and been illustrating children's books. I'm wondering why you chose to create this book for a more mature audience.
I guess what I did is I really made a book for myself. When I was writing this story, I knew it was, its birth was, it was a labor of love. There was no doubt. It was where I wanted to go with my art. I'd done a lot of kids books over the years, many kids books, and really enjoyed them all, picture books, nonfiction. But that that part of my life was kind of winding to a close, right? And so I was sort of when I did this book, I really wanted to get into something that was a little bit meatier, you know, with a little bit more meat on the bones to really kind of grapple with some issues and some ideas that I wanted to present in a comic book form, and so by writing it for an older audience, it just allowed me to do that. It allowed me to go places that I couldn't if I was just writing a book for kids. So that's kind of the way that evolved, you know. Yeah, that was funny what you said too. I just wanted to pick up on, if you don't mind, but
sure.
You mentioned about the technology and sort of this medieval feel to it, and that was also a really big part of the book. Like when I started the story, I really like anybody, you know, when you're doing a graphic novel, you're going to be at it for a few years. So you better be drawing something that you enjoy, you know, that you enjoy doing. And I've always had a fascination with medieval architecture and that period in time. So I'm a bit of a sort of amateur historian in that regard. And so that was the setting that I wanted. And the sort of post-apocalyptic setting really kind of set the stage for that, because like in medieval times, you know, people were kind of wandering around in this landscape that had once been inhabited by the Romans and civilizations that probably technologically were a long ways ahead of where people had devolved to. And so I was just kind of imagining, well, in this world too, it's devolved from what we have now, you know, from the world that we're in now, and because society is broken down, and so I really I sort of wanted to do something that had that medieval feel, and yet was futuristic at the same time.
Right. And, no, it makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Just
sure.
Kind of rambling on there.
No, makes sense.
One last thing about the technology too, and I will touch on that, is that, it's old technology. And the reason it's old technology is because I'm kind of working with this conceit that everything, you know, that we're doing now, you know, it's kind of, a lot of it's kind of, you know, stored on the cloud and what have you. There is this possibility that with a massive technological meltdown that you can lose all kinds of stuff, you know, lose almost everything, you know, because we've kind of, you know, more and more trusting our data and our information to be somewhere other than on our personal devices. So that was kind of the premise in this book, that the really old stuff, the stuff from the 80s and 90s and, you know, early 2000s, that was the stuff that in the future was valuable because it still had actual data on it, right?
Yeah, no, that's true. And just picking up on that, just because technology changes so much and so fast that it gets forgotten. I was just reading an article today, and the way to project the Oppenheimer film that's out today by Chris Nolan on IMAX, they have to use a Palm Pilot.
Yeah.
And people had to explain what that was. A lot of people today, well, our generation knows what it is, but the current, you know, younger folks have no clue what's a Palm Pilot. But that old technology is the thing that's driving this IMAX projector. Just bonkers. Anyway,
it's wild. Yeah, I remember the day that I went to do a talk one time, and this was when I was still doing kids books, and it was for some conference, and I had all my artwork on slides. And I just showed up and I go, you know, can you get me a slide projector? And this is how fast it had changed, you know, because that wasn't such a strange question.
Sure.
But the guy just sort of said, oh, slide projector. You could see the technical guy, he kind of goes blank, and he's like, oh, I think I've got one in the back room somewhere, maybe, you know. It's like, and that was like, it was just like, you know, from one year to the next practically.
Yes.
But the technology was just out of date. So fast. Made your head spin. Yeah,
that happens. It's faster every day. So with all that's going on, I wanted to see if you could maybe summarize or maybe help me understand, what message do you hope readers get after reading this particular book? Is there one message you want them to come away with? Or are there, because there's many themes in the book, that's for sure.
Yeah, lots of themes. Like I say, I never had intended it to be preachy or to be trying to bang the drum in any particular way at all. Essentially, the number one, I just hope people walk away with a feeling they've read a good story, because that was at the heart of it. That's what I wanted to write, was just a good story. But thematically, yeah, I think if there's any message there, I think it's maybe just for us to take a moment, step back a little bit, just kind of look at the way that we live our lives, how we move so rapidly now, and we're moving and embracing all this new technology so quickly now, the whole thing around AI and stuff, and maybe we should, I just feel like, I don't know. I live out in the country. I spend a lot of time sitting on my back porch looking at trees. Okay, and I just feel that all of us could benefit a little bit by remembering that we're not separate from nature. That we're very much part of this world, and even global warming. At the heart of it, it's just nature doing its thing, because we're part of nature. And if we soil our nest, if we destroy this beautiful world we live in, then you know what? That's just us fulfilling our natural destiny, and I would just hope that humans are a little bit better than that, and that we can sort that one out. So
right,
yeah,
exactly.
I guess that's kind of in the back of my mind.
Sure, absolutely. Now, you touched on this before with the Asterix book, with the ink spill and the brushes, but I wanted to get right to this book. What tools do you use to create your art?
Sure. Yeah. The first this volume and even the second one, I'm doing all my inking on my art table on board. Pencil roughs. I'm actually working. Yeah, and then inking with a Pentel brush pen, which I love. I used to do a lot of brush and ink work, with brushes and bottles of ink and pen and ink. But the Pentel brush pen, I really became really quite happy with. So that's what I did all the brush work with, and the line work, and then I would scan it in, and then I was doing the tonal work in Photoshop on my computer along with the text. But now that's changed. I live in the last little while on the third book. Everything's being done on my iPad.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So
that's a bit of a change, though, is it not?
Yes and no. I'll tell you. Over the years, at times, I've been doing some digital work for many years. Actually, really since the advent of computers, I was doing some digital software as part of my illustration career, not exclusively, but so I've always had kind of a foot in it. But every time I would try drawing on, say, Wacom tablet or something like that. Personally, I always found there was a lag time between my brush stroke and what was going up on the screen.
Right.
And I could never get used to that. I think artists who've grown up with it, that's just the way it is. But it was just felt foreign to me. It felt like there was this wall between me and creating. So yeah. But then my sister was visiting. She's an artist, and she said, "Here, have my old iPencil. I don't need it anymore. I got a new one." I go, "Oh, great, sure." I got this sketching program on my iPad. I'll give it a try. And I was just, I was blown away how natural it felt, how easily it was to kind of make that transformation. So I literally played around with it for a week, and then I was on my way, because
wow.
Because a lot of the stuff, it was just figuring out some of the drawing stuff and how to do that. But a lot of the mechanical stuff, even though I was working on a new program, than what I did, not Photoshop, but a lot of it, a lot of those skills are pretty transferable. So I was able to sort of say, okay, I know what I should be able to do. How do I do it? And
right.
So for the tonal work, that was easy. But yeah, the stylus, and I found a pen that just felt like my brush work with the thicks and thins, and did all the things that I wanted to do. So I think all those, it's interesting, but all those years of working in a certain medium were analog, were completely transferable. It was just the motor controls and stuff that were involved to draw that way just transferred very smoothly over to drawing on the iPad. Yeah.
Oh, glad to hear. Good. Now you've hinted in our conversation here about something else. You've mentioned book 2 and 3. So I have to ask you, do you have any other upcoming projects that you can talk about?
Yeah. So I guess that cat's out of the bag. Well, we did put trilogy on the first book, so I guess that was obvious. Yeah. Book 2 is actually all pretty well done. In fact, today, this week I've been working on the cover for book 2, and doing some stuff to get it print ready. It'll be out next spring, and then the third book is really well along as well. I broke from it to do this work, but I'd say book 3 is maybe 2/3 done already. So
wow, it's great.
So I'm just trying to keep ahead of the curve because
sure.
Besides, what else am I going to do?
Oh my. Well, that's something to look forward to. That's for sure.
Well, I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I've been asking creators about this question, and I didn't prepare you for this one, but we've been hearing a lot about AI in the news these days, and certainly comic book creation art is no exception. So I want to get your take on it. Do you think AI is helpful or harmful to comic book creation?
I heard you ask Scott Chandler this question.
Oh, no. Okay.
And he actually had a really kind of intelligent answer, like he had thought about it. AI, yeah. I guess I don't know how much up to speed I am as to where it's at this point. And when you say comic book creation, I mean I guess there's the writing as well as the drawing.
That's true.
Thinking about the writing, well, that just seems kind of pathetic if you sort of would plug in the stuff and it's going to spit you out a plot and then and let AI do that. But yet I've heard other people, writers, poets talk very intelligently about using it as a tool and as a jumping off point and stuff like that. So I guess it just there's a few things there. It's how is it going to be used, right? And if it's going to be used as a tool, well, I'm drawing on my iPad now with a stylus. I don't have paper. Everything's gone digital. It's like there's no paper copy of what I create anymore. That's not AI, but it is using those tools to make my artwork better. And if people can use the AI to make their work better, well, God bless them. I think that the idea that's been floated around of labeling things as AI generated, I think is really important. I think people need to know that, I don't think that we want to live in a world where we kind of hand over all the creativity to the machines around us, but and they're going to get good at it. They can get very good at it. They could, they may be as good as we are, and at that point, then that opens up all kinds of philosophical discussions about what is it to be human? Do you grant personhood to these machines that are able to do these wonderful things? They're all valid questions, but for me, creating and creativity is a wondrous gift and place to be in, where I feel more connected, to my world around me than doing virtually anything else. And I think humans will always feel that way, and that will always be part of it. And if people are just happy to kind of hand that all over to the machines and let them do it, and I don't know, are you going to be wowed by something that's being done by a machine? I think there's a point where we'll say no, like it's a machine. Of course it can do it. Maybe it can even do it better than us. But it's not a human that's doing it. I don't know. I don't know. It's such a huge question.
Sure, absolutely it is. Yeah. Well, I want to get your take. Well, I appreciate that.
Well, it's a good question. Yeah, I think there's a lot of conversation about that. It was very unspecific because I don't really know about the comic technology itself.
No worries. Well, I appreciate your insight. That's for sure.
Okay.
For sure. Well, with all we've been talking about today, with Secrets of Jarrow, wondering, do you have a website where you recommend people go to find out about your current and your future projects?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just my name, billslavin.com. And if you go there, I've got a pretty active website in that I've put it so that it's functioning more just as a blog. So on a monthly basis, I'm writing there about what I'm working on and things that, giving little insights into some of the work that's going on and where I'm at with my stuff, things that I'm doing, places I might be showing up if I'm showing up anywhere, which isn't too often. But but yeah, so billslavin.com. I also have an active Facebook page. I know that's bad these days, but I'm not about to learn any new technology, so that's where I am. Mordecai Crow comic, I think. But if you search for Mordecai Crow, you'll find it. And but yeah. And besides that, if you go to my blog, if you go to my my website, I've also I'm doing a newsletter, a monthly newsletter. Doesn't come out too often, but little tidbits in there for sure. And it'll just, if you sign up for that, that'd be great. It'll keep you 100% up to date on when the books are coming out and what's happening around the Mordecai Crow trilogy, for sure.
Sounds good. Well, Bill, those are all the questions I have for you, but I'm wondering, is there something I didn't ask that you'd like to get across in this interview?
I would just say, and I think that's probably what everybody says, but I hope you go out and take a look at my book. I hope you find it, and I hope people like it. I realize there's a lot of chutzpah just thinking I can make a comic book when there's just, I mean, I've done a few, but there's so much talent out there and so many beautiful books being created. But I think hopefully you'll be surprised with Mordecai Crow and find that it's something a little bit different from what you've been running across. And if you do and you enjoy it, get back to me, let me know, because that's why any of us do what we do. You create stories to share, and so I really hope that it finds its audience, and that people that actually do find it enjoy it. So yeah.
Thanks to Bill for the chat. You can discover more about Bill at billslavin.com. That's BILLSLAVIN.com. And thanks to you for listening to the True North Country Comics podcast. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to and like this podcast on Apple Podcasts. And please check out the TrueNorthCountryComics.com website. True North Country Comics is now on YouTube. Please like and subscribe to that video channel and hit the notification button. You can follow along on True North Country Comics on most social media sites. Please send your feedback to John at TrueNorthCountryComics.com. If you want to help the site and the podcast, please consider supporting the effort by chipping in at ko-fi.com/True North Country Comics. Your patronage is greatly appreciated. Thanks again for listening, and come back soon for another episode. Bye for now. True North Country Comics podcast is copyright True North Country Comics, copyright 2023.